Good day, everyone. I am your teacher, Morgan, and today we will talk about the dimensions of learner centered teaching, the function of content. So, there are actually five dimensions of learner centered teaching, but today we will only focus on the first dimension, which is the function of content. But before we learn about the function of content, let us first understand what is the learner centered teaching. Learner-centered teaching is all about putting you, the learner, at the heart of education. It's all about understanding that everyone learns differently and creating an environment where you can thrive. So, in short, learner-centered teaching focuses solely on the learner, not solely, no, but it focuses on the learner, how the student will learn, what they're going to learn, where they're going to learn. No? So, what's the purpose for learning of the student? So everything is all about the learner. Now, here's the questions that we need to answer, or in teaching, these are the questions that we need to consider. First, what is the role of the teacher? Is the teacher the primary source of information, or is the teacher the facilitator? A facilitator, no? What is the balance of power? Does the teacher have the power, or does the student also have the power? Is it balance? No. What is the function of content? What you're going to teach to your students? And you know, whose responsibility is it for learning? Is it the responsibility of the teacher, or is it the student's responsibility? What is the purpose and process of evaluation? Why are you evaluating your students' learning or knowledge? And what's the process? How you're going to evaluate? Is it through written? Is it through performance? No. Now, most respond to these questions from a traditional point of view. The teacher gives students content to learn, then evaluation for is for students to show teachers what they know. The teacher has all the power. However, in a learner-centered approach, it is totally different. What does learner-centered teaching look like in practice? Now, Phyllis Bloomberg, 2009, developed the rubric below that contrasts teacher-centered and learner-centered approach in teaching. Here's the rubric. Again, we will only focus on the first dimension, which is the function of content. So what's the function of content? Content includes building a knowledge base, how the teacher and students use the content. Ang essential component niya is level to which students engage content. Okay, let us digest this first. No? So, in the function of content is where the students feel engaged or curious, or they pick their interest kung paano sila naging engaged, or they dive deeper into that content, how they relate themselves, how they connect themselves to that certain content. Say for example, since we're talking about the economy, or we're talking about the economy, how they are related to that content, and how are they going to relate themselves, to connect themselves, to feel connected, no, to that certain topic. Now, in a teacher-centered approach, the teacher allows students to memorize content. Meanwhile, in a learner-centered approach, teacher encourages students to transform and reflect on most the content to make their own meaning of it. Say for example, in a teacher-centered approach, the teacher would ask the students, say for example, you're in a history class. Now the teacher would ask you to memorize these dates, this this here's the example. Say for example, in history class, in a traditional point of view, the teacher would ask the students to memorize dates, names, who is Jose Rizal, kailan siya pinatay, kailan nabuo ang Katipunan, no? But in a learner-centered approach, debating the impact of historical events on current issue. So that is one example of what the teacher might ask the students to do, no? So one example of this is why you will ask the students to debate about the past and related to this to the current or to the present. For example, what is the relevance of Marcos Sr. in the presidency of Marcos Jr.? Bakit siya nanalo? No. what are the odds or what are the impacts of Marcos Sr. ang mga ginawa niya doon sa pagkapanalo ng ating Pangulo. Next, in science class, another example. So the teacher would ask you in traditionally the teacher would ask you to read about experiments in a textbook. So I remember back in the day, we have this textbook and then share pa kami doon sa isang libro. And then babasahin lang namin we will read the textbook about the experiments. So we will learn about it. Pero if we're going to apply it or we're going to do it ourselves in a real world, it's very hard. And definitely, I will forget about it na years later. But in a learner-centered approach, the teacher would ask the student to conduct their own experiments and analyze the results. So we have, for example, the teacher would ask the student to bring suka, lemon, calamansi, water the next day. So something liquid and then they will going to mix it and they will identify what is alkali, why is it neutral, bakit acidic, why is it acidic, what is the ratio. So then yung papasok. Another example is in today's generation, most of the schools, they have their own microscope. So students will learn or will have a first-hand experience on how to use a microscope rather than just identifying the parts of the microscope and identifying the say for example in a leaf no leaf leaf in a leaf they will identify what is chlorophyll and what is yung mga bacteria and all. So instead of just reading it in the textbook or instead of the teacher explaining it to you in class, the students will use a microscope there themselves and will use how to will know how to use the microscope and then we will analyze the results, no, identify different samples. So that is learner-centered teaching. Last example in literature class, the teacher traditionally the teacher would ask you to write essays about certain topic, but in a learner-centered teaching, the teacher will ask you to act out scenes or create modern adaptations of classic stories. Most of the common stories, or you can apply this um, in Romeo and Juliet. No, the teacher will ask you to have a role play about Romeo and Juliet. Ano ba? Ibong Arodarna or the classics from Rizal's work, no? El Filibusterismo and the No Limitang Here. So that is the most common words that the teacher would ask you to do yourself rather than just reading the uh the chapters of the book, no? You will experience it yourself. You will have a deeper understanding of what you're learning. Now, why or the function of content, why the function of content is important or yeah, or how will you implement it? First, be relevant. Connect your lessons to your students' life, interest, and goals. So, what's the connection of this economy to you? No, you're affected. Yung dating pisong candy, ngayon 2 piso na. So that is an example. You need to pick their interest. You need to make them feel connected to the topic that they have to learn it. They will have the eagerness, the will to learn the subject. Next, the function of content support active learning. Get the students involved through discussion, projects, and hands-on activity. Again, instead of talking in front of your students, having a lecture discussions, try to have an interactive discussion. Encourage your student to participate. Ask them about their opinions, about their say or input in this matter, and make them do hands-on activities themselves or let them let them explore the lesson themselves. Then that's the time that you will enhance their understanding of the topic. You, as a teacher, you will act as facilitator. You will guide them throughout the learning process. No, no. Next is be accessible. Make sure everyone can understand and engage with the material. So you can just give your student an activity to download this, to watch this on YouTube, to make this art material that's super, ano, diba? super mahal because every student they have different um life, no? And one example of this is last pandemic, we when we have our new normal and learning cannot stop with all those pandemic and viruses and all. So the teacher, especially in rural areas, they cannot ask their students to attend online classes and download this and everything. So what they did, they provide modular, they provide module, no, the modular modality. They provide module to the students on reading materials. So that's their way para ma-access nila or makapag-aral pa rin sila despite of the circumstances, of the different circumstances. Next, encourage collaboration. Work, let your students work with them, with their classmates to share ideas and learn from each other. Again, students have different circumstances and they have different perspectives, they have different views in life, no? And sharing ideas, um, it encourage collaborations within your students. And syempre, sharing collaboration, socialization, it really encourages learning kasi you'll find new friends, no? And that is why here's the benefits of effective content. Increase engagement, deeper understanding, improve skills, and greater confidence. But effective content increase engagement kasi if students know they feel connected to the uh, effective content make your students feels like no, effective content engage your students in the learning process. No, they will pick their curiosity to learn more. And learning more, no, they will have a deeper understanding because they want to learn. So they will definitely understand the lesson, try no their best to understand the lesson. And if they understand that and if they have a deeper understanding, it can improve their skills no, as a learner, as a student, and as a person. And if they have improved skills, they will have greater confidence. So that is the benefit of an effective content. And that would be all. I hope you understand and enjoy this lesson. If you have any questions, feel free to message me to ask me. And that would be all. Thank you.